You are listening to Where is the Music podcast. My name is Alberto, and on this program I will talk about music in all its forms. I discuss the creative part, the understanding of music, the role that music has in our culture, our shared life, our psyche, and I will do that with the help of my piano. You can find me on all major podcasting platforms and my work as composer, pianist and teacher at albertoferro.com. This podcast has no sponsor. If you like to support me, click the link to my Patreon page, available in the description. With a contribution as little as few dollars a month, you will significantly help me keep doing what I do. Now, on to this episode of Where is the Music? Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm gonna talk about Beethoven through one of his piano sonatas. This is a sonata in B flat, op.22. It was composed when Beethoven was about 28, 29. So we cannot really say it's a young piece. At the same time, we can place it in Beethoven early to mid maturity period. So generally, history of music does not have very clear-cut turning points, moments in which something happened, and from then onwards, music changed completely. One of those few is certainly represented by Ludwig van Beethoven. Why? Today I'm gonna elaborate a bit on this topic. Beethoven seems to have uncovered musical qualities that after him are going to be considered intrinsic to the experience of music. Every great composer has somehow changed the course of history, but if we were to decide what is the greatest divider, for example, between the music of modernity and the music of pre-modernity, Beethoven seems to be the clearest point of reference. I'm not dealing today too much on the history, but as usual I'm gonna use the piano and this piece of music to just maybe guide you through some of the most interesting and creative ways in which Beethoven has accomplished such a revolution. Particularly, I'm going to use 3 words to conduct today's episode, and hopefully these words will help me describing those qualities of music that I mentioned earlier that are peculiar of Beethoven's music and that through his work have opened the perception of music to modern day listeners. These 3 words are vibration, transformation, and trajectory. So if you're familiar with the music of Beethoven, you already probably have a sense of where this is going towards. And if you are interested in philosophy, as much as I am, although I cannot really say I'm an expert, but certainly the correlation between words such as vibration, transformation, trajectory, and the music of Beethoven might remind you of the philosophy of Hegel. Anyway, without going too deeply in that philosophical direction, let's go back to the practical music. As a disclaimer, the way I will conduct today's investigation into this sonata is by playfully experimenting on the text that has arrived to us. Something that I usually do in class with my students is to infer the character of a musical passage by playfully try maybe alternatives. How would it sound if this was set in a different character? It is like making a series of hypotheses about what is being expressed by temporarily erasing the text and substituting it with alternative ideas. So then, when you go back to the original text, perhaps the message emerges more clearly. So, how does this sonata go? I'm gonna play you the first few lines. So let's take a look at the musical elements that we have from the very beginning. We have this entrance that is repeated, and it does seem the exact repetition fits with this, let's say, this rhetoric of attempting things once, twice, and hopefully the next time we'll get somewhere. As a matter of fact, it goes somewhere. So one can start seeing how transformation already takes place. This is being transformed into that. It's like an explosion of energy. But then how does this effectively happen? Well, let's notice that what starts this sonata is not a melody. Is more a rhythm, or even more precisely, I would say, is a vibration, is a percussion, is an energy that really it's about to explode. To me, we can see this first phrase as, you when you're trying to ignite the engine of a car or a motorbike, that it doesn't go right away. It goes rum, and then rum, and then roar, and then you start. Okay, so that seems to be the type of phrasing depicted here. But then this ignition becomes a true explosion. This is piano and crescendo. So you could have developed the same initial idea in a variety of ways. For example, without this idea of exploding, but maybe just developing more linearly. Something like this, or something more melodic. Etc. Now the explosion has happened. As a matter of fact, this top note seems to be the highest energy release, and consequently he goes down and down. So the arc of energy seems to be completed. But once again, this explosion is not taken as a neat, beautiful, aristocratic, elegant melody. How do I know this? Because the accompaniment is not neither beautiful nor aristocratic. It's this very energetic. It's very impetuous. So he could have done something like this. Maybe even even the melody could have changed to something elegant. Something like this. Notice then, if you look at the original text, and I'm gonna play it to you right now. Notice how the initial vibration, that engine trying to get ignited, the force that we just happen to perceive from the very first notes, it really explodes in a very narrow trajectory, just forward. It's forward that he's looking, and it's forward that this music is taking us. It seems to me that chords, harmony, and the exact choice of melody are second to this desire of expressing, just going through, moving forward. If we go on, we have arrived here. Once again, this energy doesn't seem to stop. We are at a low point, but as soon as we get there, we move up again. And back again high. The energy seems to be hard to contain itself. And Beethoven then is already switching our attention from music that could be elegant, delightful, pleasant to hear, to what is most important to him for us to hear, which is constant vibration, this energy that needs to cross through our expectation of grace. It is being said in musicology and in music analysis that Beethoven somehow does an operation of fragmentation of melody. So what we are used to, maybe a bit longer lines from Mozart or Haydn, now they are fragmented into small bits that never really take off. And now this seems a bit more clear, because what is being portrayed here is not melody per se, but energy. And that energy does not necessarily mean a long, consistent, singable vocal line, but vibration. This thing seems to be the matter of this music more than the actual specific notes. What happens afterwards? Again, we have a imitation of the beginning, this time from the lower register. Okay, this seems to be another something else is about to explode, but he recognized as a sensitive composer that if the whole rhetoric is repeated once again, our expectation will not be satisfied. So seems to be interested in looking elsewhere. The rhythm slows down, and we are not yet presented with a full round melody, but now we see what's behind. There is a slower pace about to be looked at and developed, but this is a short acknowledgement, because as soon as we get there, right? So there is no time to waste. He's keeping with this initial energy. Now, we also know that this cannot stand for long. We already see that there is a need to introduce other musical elements, and he takes the opportunity to do it right now in what in music analysis is called the second theme, which is a rather melodic, maybe the more feminine type of theme, and it's slower. Notice it's not, once again, a very singable melody. It just seems to be, it does seem to be just going up and down in a metered, orderly way. And we say, why? He has the opportunity to do something a bit contrasting. Why wouldn't he do that? Because he's not interested in doing things balanced and elegant, apparently, but he's still interested in this idea of energy. Isn't that amazing? He's able to maintain a clear distinction between a first stronger masculine theme and a second lighter feminine. But both of them, they participate of this vital, vibrating, moving forward energy that is the core theme of the piece. And I must say, this is not just peculiar to this sonata, but this actually is peculiar of Beethoven's style, at least of a particular aspect of his style that we find everywhere in his music. Now what we'll have is something rather surprising. It seems to be something like a third musical idea. Let's remind where we are. This is the first time that we hear something a bit more orderly, in the sense singable. It is set as a 4 parts chorale, although they move rather mechanically up and down together, and you notice that the energy here it's still something that is leading us towards some sort of higher point, some sort of explosion. And here we have it. It was an explosion, but not perhaps as remarkable as earlier. But perhaps what is he doing? He's setting us en route to a larger explosion. Is it about to come? Is it about to happen? The repetition of this section, of this phrase, is even more interesting, because as we were saying, this seemed to be like a chorale type, and the repetition seems to be the breaking of this orderly movement into this. Notice now it's way more clear that this release of energy throughout his music has just started to to taking form and to expanding. There are many ways in which he accomplishes this. We know from from the outline of this melody that it's going up. So tendentially, one would feel the same thing with regard to the amount of energy that this melody is carrying. But also, there is an accent for every time we reach a higher note. Every time there is an accent, and then when he fragments it, when he breaks this homorhythmic movement, there is two accents. So it's just little details, but to show how repetition can be the opportunity to say something different. Now we are a moment of tension. What's going to happen? As you can tell, there is a lot of energy that needs to explode. This is 4 lines of very fast, very energetic music. Now, we have used a lot this term, energy. How about the term transformation? Transformation might be the way in which something changes slightly its appearance, but remains the same. For example, as we just mentioned, this becomes this. Or transformation is the way by which this becomes this. Or is a way in which this becomes this. It is transformed in a way, but it stays the same. This now has become this. And what has changed and what stays the same? These are the questions that might put some light into Beethoven's way of treating musical material. And we are going back to the initial word, vibration. This is, to my imagination, related to this sense of vibration. In the same way, it is this. Notice that we can accompany these two melodies in ways that are not as much delivering or conveying an idea of vibration. For example, right? Transformation can also be the way in which this very fast growing moment of ignition is transforming in something slow. how did the transformation happen? Well, it's a mystery to me. It's just it seems to be very natural once I hear it the first time. It's very difficult to describe how that happened. And now let's talk about the third word, trajectory. Trajectory is what differentiates the music before Beethoven to the music after Beethoven. As a matter of fact, as a composer myself, there is a point in which every piece struggles with this idea of trajectory, because trajectory music simply means that to go from A to B, we need to delineate, to draw a path that brings some necessity. The necessity to reach B must somehow be already felt in A, otherwise there will be no reason to move. It is not very different from inventing a story. There must be some sort of goal, whether it is reached or not. The important part is to be able to communicate the necessity of moving towards that goal. So it seems to me that Beethoven is able in this movement to create a series of stages, each one arrived through a small transformation, each one reached through a phrase and some build up, and each stage is a necessary one in order for the final resolution or the final achievement. And we have a sense of this already by the very beginning, because you remember the first explosion happens at bar 4. This cannot be the final point, this is just the very beginning, but his goal is to say, right, here is step 1. And then we have a second step. That's the second step. We are entering in the third. And so on. Do you see that the story here is filled every few seconds pretty much with arrival points that create a sense of general trajectory. This trajectory is being felt from the very beginning, due thankfully to this amount of energy constantly building and building and building, and to this idea of constant transformation. Whether you are listening or playing, you're probably participating in this musical process of embodiment and transformation along with the music. If you ever heard the term sonata form, that's a plan, a map of a musical piece that is somehow very broadly giving you a sense of how to construct and put together your ideas in order to create this sense of trajectory forward. It is interesting that Beethoven did not invent this form. It's already a form that in a way or another was developed by previous composers, particularly Haydn and Mozart. But it is so interesting that Beethoven has exploited this form so much that he has given even more sense, more poignancy to later generations. Sonata form becomes this ideal design onto which we can express our musical ideas. As we said, after him, it is very hard to make music that does not have or does not seem to have a trajectory forward. Think think of Wagner, think of Brahms, think of Bruckner, and even think of Mahler. However short or long is your piece of music, you would eventually have to contend with this idea, but where is this going? There are, of course, composers that have challenged this sense of necessity and trajectory. Composers that do not, of course, belong to the generation of Beethoven. But by contending with it, they have managed to create alternatives and make us feel the music making, the creation of a story, not necessarily through this very looking forward, moving forward sense of trajectory. Now I'm gonna play the first movement, perhaps not the entire thing, but I'm gonna put some links to this with some nice interpretation of it. I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and I hope I have given you enough reasons to be curious about the young Beethoven. Maybe in the future I will talk about something that he composed later, although it's very difficult music, so I can't promise. But if you are not too familiar with Beethoven's music, or maybe a bit intimidated by this style, perhaps you can think about these three keywords: vibration, transformation, and trajectory. They might be a good thing to think about when you listen to his music. Thank you again for listening, and I will meet you again here on Where is the Music Podcast. Thanks for listening to Where is the Music podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, look up for others. I made a few. I publish an episode every week roughly, investigating each time a different aspect of music. The music making, the music listening, the meaning of music, and its relevance in our lives. It is very helpful for me if you like, subscribe, follow on your favorite platform. Where is the Music is on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, TuneIn, and Google Podcasts. If you like to support me, you're free to do so through Patreon. Link in description. Thank you again. Until next time.